Hi guys, and welcome back to the Blues Focus channel for yet another episode of Final Whistle Reaction. A bit different than usual. We've actually got a guest for the Final Whistle Reaction. Derby fan Brandon, if you watched the Opposition View video, which if you haven't, link will be in the description. You'll recognise Brandon, as I did mention that we would be watching the game together. And just shout out to Niall. I don't have a black eye.
Not yet, anyway.
Not yet. I haven't gloated too much just yet, but who knows? Few more of the bevs, and we'll see. But no, we're here to kind of just review the game, what's happened as usual, go through the stats, break down the game, and what happened where, and just where it's gone wrong for Derby and where it's gone right for Blues. And do you know what? I think I'm going to start with you, Brandon. What are your overall thoughts after that performance? Let's start with the first half. How did you feel about the first half?
Well, it was just scrappy, wasn't it? It felt there wasn't any kind of flow to the game at all. It was just kind of, I think both sides were maybe a little bit nervous. I'm not quite sure, but that first half didn't feel like it definitely had anything to it. And yeah, that was all there was really to it. Nothing really kind of ignited until the second half, really, to be honest. But it's obviously we got the goal and went into the break with the lead, but we were kind of lucky to be in that position. There wasn't really much in it, so
Yeah, you couldn't look at the screen, could you? Too
no,
nervous.
I was quite nervous, obviously, but given the circumstances, but yeah, it is what it is. The first half was, like I said, quite a scrappy one.
Yeah, definitely. First half, it was just constant long ball headers everywhere. It was a very scrappy game, and then Harley Dean tries to obviously, when the ball comes in low driven, cross goal, Harley Dean tries to instruct Pedersen to get in front of Kazim Richards, but really it was Harley Dean's man, and he should have done better. Should have got in front of him himself. Can't always rely on the men behind him. I think it would have, if he sticks a leg in, the goal doesn't happen.
I think it's just one of those typical defensive mix-ups.
Yeah,
where,
it
like,
is.
I understand what he's trying to do positionally wise, but because he's trying to get in front of Kazim Richards, but he's got in front of him, fair enough, but he's not stuck his leg out, and it's cost you the goal.
Yeah, exactly. Bang on, mate. And it's just how it happened. And to be honest, from the way we played in the first half, I wasn't expecting us to come out the way we did in the second half. And I suppose that does bring us on to the second half, which has changed the result. For me, that second half was not what I expected at all.
No.
I expected more of the same. I think first 5 minutes was still scrappy.
A little bit, yeah.
But once we made the changes, the substitutions, changed the shape, we looked a different attacking force, and we were getting down the wings quite a lot. We were getting in behind, we were creating more problems, getting crosses in the box, and we have a lot of aerial threat. And they talked about it on Sky before the game even commenced, the amount of aerial threat we have in our squad, and that's obviously paid dividends in the end. Juki's managed to bag 2 classic Juki goals, really, in the scrap of the area. Managed to get his head on it, and for that second one in particular, I don't know how he's not being marked. The one man you want to mark in our team, it's Lucas Jukovic, probably the best header of the ball in the championship, and we've managed to score 2 headers. I feel like that would have been an obvious threat that Rooney would have wanted to point out to Mark, but it just didn't turn out that way. And it is unfortunate for Derby, because I do think if you tried hard enough, you could have held on, because we were one route with the crosses, but it just worked out for us in the end. It's classic Blues. What are your thoughts on the second half?
Yeah, like I said, when the sort of substitutions started to bed in, obviously Sanchez came on and Halilovic. I think it all kind of changed when he went to the back four, to be honest. Obviously, we were matched up from the start in the back with the back threes, which I said before the game was probably likely what was going to happen, because every time we've played a team in the back three, Rooney's matched them up. But it's when you changed to the back four, we kept the back three. For some reason, the problems started occurring. We obviously had the wing backs, sort of Buchanan and Byrne, 2-on-1 with your winger and your fullback, and it was just kind of 2-on-1 for that. Players getting pulled out of position, and then the 2 goals were not set. Well, they were just kind of from crossing situations, weren't they? I mean, it was really poor defending. It's disappointing, because I felt like when we went 1-0 up, I felt like we were capable of sitting on it, and we did see a bit of fight at times, but yeah, 2 defensive mishaps again, and like I say, not marking one of the best aerial players in the league. It's a bit. I don't even think Rooney. obviously Rooney probably would have had a word with them, but I don't even think he would have needed to be honest. I think it's pretty self-explanatory to the players that they need to know their opposition, and clearly we just 2 defensive mishaps and it's cost us.
Exactly, mate. Just bang on. You should be looking out for men like that, and unfortunately, the players haven't done well enough to mark out that particular player. Honestly, I think if you mark Juki, it still finishes 1-0. So it's one of. I think the first goal was obviously tough to defend. It comes off Edmondson, I think.
Does, yeah.
But the second goal, it's really poor. Really poor positioning.
Unmarked at the back post. No one within 5 yards of him.
Exactly, and that's not what you want with Juki, because he will score from there. So I feel like the first goal from Blues, you can accept that it's a tough one to defend, but the second goal, it's really poor defending from Derby, and I think they'll really look back at that and be gutted that they've conceded a goal like that. However, on the plus side for Derby, results have gone their way today.
They have, luckily, but we can't. This won't keep happening, and I can guarantee you, Rotherham will find 4 points from somewhere between. How many games have they got left to play? Something like 4 or 3. I think it's 4 into. They've got 2
it's 4 they've got left.
So I'm guaranteed they'll get 4 points from somewhere, and then Sheff Wednesday as well. They've creeped up. Obviously, Sheff Wednesday and Wycombe both would have been relegated should we have stayed winning, but that's obviously not happened. So it's just like Adam was saying yesterday on the opposition view. It's just kind of all condensing it down to that last day again.
Yeah, 100%. And you never know, you might have a last day survival bid. You have your own Paul Caddis. Instead, it'll be Nathan Byrne at the back post.
Still yet to score. So
yeah, no, I do think Derby have the potential to stay up. But I have to ask, right now, how are you feeling? Do you feel right now you'll stay up?
It's a hard one to kind of say, because based on our performances, I'd obviously sit there and say no, and this is obviously quite raw right after the game. But based on other teams' performances, it does kind of give me a little glimmer of hope, especially with both Wednesday and, in fact, all 3 of them lost today, didn't they?
Yeah, they did.
That does kind of give me a glimmer of hope, but I don't like looking at other teams' results as much. And Rotherham, arguably, well, just from stats alone, they look like they were sort of the better team against Barnsley, which isn't easy, by the way, because Barnsley are a top 6 side. So it's hard to kind of judge where we're going to be at. Obviously, I'm going to have to say that I'm going to hope we're going to stay up, but based off our performances, and that one especially, we showed a bit of fight, but at no point did we try and get the ball on the floor or anything. I understand sitting on a 1-0, I can accept that, but especially when it went to 1-1, the game just was in Birmingham's play for just the rest of that second half, wasn't it?
Exactly, mate. Yeah, no, I was surprised, because I said to you at half time, I said you'd sit on it. I knew you would, because Rooney does like to do that. From what I've seen this season, Rooney, if you go in the lead, Rooney wants to sit on it.
I don't mind it. And like I was
it
saying,
can work.
Yeah, like I was saying at half time, we've gone in front 17 times this season and only lost 1 of them.
Yeah, exactly.
And that was obviously at Blackburn a couple of weeks ago. So,
but now it's 2.
Now it's 2, unfortunately. And we've won 10 of those 17 games and drawn the others. But so I don't mind us sitting on a 1-0. I've not got a problem with that. But you're always going to throw it at us, long throws, set pieces, and we just. If we could have dealt with it, then that's completely fair enough. But obviously we've not dealt with it, and I feel like it may be a personnel thing. We've not got the biggest squad, or the squad capable of doing that. I guess some more technical kind of players in there.
Yeah.
But they're not delivering at the top end or the back end at the minute.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair to say. Honestly, I thought first half, I think both teams were quite drab. It wasn't pretty. But Derby were probably the happier of the 2 sides, because obviously you went 1-0 up, but I do think you probably had the better chances. You made it scrappy, brought us down a bit from where we've been playing recently, and it was tough. It was really tough. We looked a different side to what I've seen, but in the end we've managed to turn it around. We've gone back to basics. It's sort of route 1 for us, just getting balls in the box, and the man who normally scores them has managed to bag. So no, it it was a great second half for us, but really poor first half. I did not expect to turn it around. I thought maybe there was an equaliser in there. I certainly did not think there was 2 goals in us, so I was really shocked. But Lee Bowyer has made some great changes. Ivan Sanchez, Halilovic. Who else do you bring on? There was one other. Halilovic, Sanchez, and Amari Miller. That was it. Amari Miller, 18 years of age, already establishing himself in the league. I've been really impressed. Hopefully, we can see more of him. But Derby are a similar sort of position as that. You know, you've got a lot of young players. Louis Sibley and Max Bird occasionally step up to the table, but when they both came on at the same time in that game, they didn't really affect the game at all, which was sad to see. And you have been selling a lot of young players. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it was. I feel like Max Bird was definitely one that I expected to come on because we sort of started to lose hold of the ball, obviously, in the second half. And Max Bird is a player that will get it down and he'll play, and he is capable of that. But and Sibley as well, he obviously brings some energy. We obviously had Jason Knight, also an academy player, playing in the first half. He did okay, won his battles and so on. But obviously Max Bird coming on it didn't felt like we actually did regain that sort of hold in the game, which when Bird's gone in the past or when Bird started, we have actually had. And when he's played alongside Shinnie or even Rooney in the past before he'd obviously hung his boots up, it was Max Bird was great at that, and he was great at sort of retaining possession, rotating, and so on. But yeah, it's a weird one. The substitutions obviously haven't come off, and I feel like as Derby fans, Adam will probably agree with me that we've said that actually a number of times this year. Substitutions haven't come off, or the right substitutions haven't been made. I think Bird was a necessity to come on today, but obviously it hasn't worked. So it's a weird one, like you say, but I think, like I say, we're relying on too much youth, and then even the experienced players are probably a bit, like too experienced.
Yeah.
So, I think the squad in general needs a good refresh in the summer. Obviously, that money, we don't know where it's going to come from yet, and obviously Eric Alonso's sort of in place to take over the club, but that's probably not going to develop too much between now and the end of the season, not until after the season's finished at least. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting one. But we can't keep relying on these players because they're talented players, but at the end of the day, they won't be able to deliver on their own in these kind of situations, I feel.
Exactly, mate. They're too young. They're too young to have that pressure on their shoulders, and that's where you have to look to more experienced players. And it's a shame that players like Curtis Davis were missing out because he is a leader. And if you had a leader on the pitch in that game,
Rooney
maybe it could have been different.
On the pitch as well, by the way.
Exactly. Rooney, if he was a player manager, that'd probably be even better. I do think the one time you actually had him as a player manager, you lost to Bristol. If I recall,
that was a weird.
Rightly.
That was a weird one though. It was like a few days after Cocker had been sacked. There hadn't really been much time to settle, but they kind of tried to perceive with that player manager style, with the senior kind of taking the sidelines and so on, and then really kind of on the pitch as well, but involved in the management, and it just wasn't working. Like I remember we lost 3-0 to Middlesbrough, and it was like I say, it was just drab. So I think they just kind of come up with a solution between them that Rooney was the one to take charge full time, and there was a bit of like a new manager bounce like you've had under Bowyer at the time. But
yeah,
I remember saying on one of the Goalanger podcasts that it's a risk putting him in that position in a relegation scrap, and it's obviously not paid off. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens between now and the end of the season.
Exactly, mate. I did say at the time, Rooney was in good form, but I didn't think it would be the right appointment. I do feel like you should have looked for some more experience in these situations. I think you were just going off good form at the time, but every team can have a new manager bounce. And I do think that's what's happened with Derby, unfortunately. However, you look on paper, the sides that you're up against in the bottom three below you, I do think on paper you probably have the best side, but Sheffield Wednesday have a cracking side as well. And if you take away the points deduction, they are up there. They would be above you, but they're not. And obviously you're lucky yourselves not to have your own points deduction. So it's a very complicated situation. But if we look to evaluate the game a bit more, it's very rare Blues have more possession than another side. Very, very rare. I can tell you that from experience. We never have more possession, and to see us have 57% possession is shocking. Just because we don't do that. So obviously we like to dominate games in periods, like every other team, but we don't dominate it that much as we did in that second half. And you look at the stats: total shots 7 each team, 2 on target for each team. It's, we matched, both teams have matched each other well. And like you said, Wayne Rooney wanted to come out and match Blues. But Bowyer, since he's come in, all he's wanted to do is match other teams. So I feel like you've tried to kind of play our own game against us, and it just hasn't worked out.
Definitely feel that way.
Exactly. And obviously, your second shot on target besides the goal was that Lawrence free kick, which went straight into Etheridge's hands. That second half was dire going forward for Derby. You just don't know where it went wrong. And obviously, he's taken Kazim Richards off, your top scorer. It doesn't really make much sense. What were your thoughts when you took off Kazim Richards?
Yeah, like you say, he's definitely a focal point in our team. And I feel like, talking about sort of game plans there and how you've spoke about Blues having more possession, I feel like what Rooney's kind of thought process is there is that if we're obviously having all of the ball, and we have been having all of the ball in the recent games, and we've obviously not won. So I feel like if we did have the ball against a team like you, who can be really effective from your set pieces and your crosses and so on, and with Lecco with the side as well, maybe a bit of threat on the break, that we would have felt a bit too exposed. I feel like that's the only kind of logical explanation I can make for it. So, taking Kazim Richards off at the time was strange, maybe, but Kazim Richards' fitness isn't amazing. I think we all kind of accept that at this point. So, but we haven't got another striker like a Gregory to bring on now because of the injuries. So, yeah, Kazim Richards coming off was, especially at the time, it was causing problems, I'd say, at the time as well. But obviously, might not have just had the minutes in him. I can't actually remember who he came off for, to be honest. I think it might have been.
It was Sibley and Bird.
I think it was Sibley. So he kind of put Lawrence up front with Waggle, and it just didn't feel connected.
One forward and then one in behind, and it just didn't work, unfortunately. I mean, it's a frustrating one, because obviously Kazim Richards is your top scorer. He always poses a goal threat. And Martin Waghorn has not had a good season at all. And, Lee Gregory's got injured, which is really a shame for you guys, because I think he got something like 3 and 5.
Something like that.
At the time when he got injured. So that's obviously frustrating to lose that goal threat that's already, prevailed from an early perspective. And it is a shame. But I look at obviously the other stats. We've had 4 offsides, you've had 2. We're clearly trying to get in behind a lot more through Lico, but we've struggled because he is a bit of an offside merchant. However, he did play all right today, played all right in the last game. His work rate is good, but he's just, the clinical ability is not there right now. However, what interests me personally is the corners. We've had 3 corners. I do feel like a lot of the game we were looking to win corners, and you've not won a single one. Like, what?
Really?
What are your thoughts on that?
Well, we're not exactly the best team from set pieces, I'm not going to lie. But then again, but we weren't saying that we weren't kind of winning the corners and posing threat from set pieces ourselves. We weren't exactly posing a threat from open play either. So I think it's just one of those. We just didn't. It's easy to say that we didn't play well. There was clearly a game plan there to kind of just match you up and be a little bit harder to beat than I felt like we have been recently, which is what a lot of people did ask for. But it's not quite worked out right. I feel like Birmingham kind of just thrived in that situation where you're just a better team at grinding out results.
Yeah,
I think that's just the way it is, especially with the personnel you've got over ours. In terms of the offsides as well, like I say, our back line's a little bit slower as well. I guess you can say with Fozzie, Clark, and Edmondson, it's probably a little bit slower, whereas we've got, Kazim Richards and Waghorn up front who don't scream pace to anybody, really, do they? So I can understand Rooney's thinking the game plan, but the players obviously just haven't put it onto the pitch well enough.
Exactly, mate. Bang on. And I suppose that sort of wraps things up for the final whistle reaction. It's been a very good analysis from me and Brandon, so I appreciate you featuring. It's quite a nice setting, sun's out, all's good.
Made the most of it.
Yeah, exactly. So, make the most of the sun while it's out. But it was very an interesting game. Blues have come out with a win, massive 3 points for us. And that's us safe now. So,
Definitely.
we'll play.
I would have thought you would have safe before today's game. To be honest, so you could have just let us win. But we'll just settle on that.
Exactly, mate. No, I do think we were probably, realistically, I think about it, I do think we were probably safe before today's game.
You're definitely safe now.
What's great to see under Bowyer's side, we're not taking any risks. We're not relying on we're probably safe. We're going for a win every game. We're going for it. And do you know what? Today, from that second half alone, we deserved it. For the way we just pressed you and stuff and went for the win. So
you know what? From that, what do you personally think of our chances of staying on?
Do you know what? From that first half, if you play a team like Sheffield Wednesday on the end of the season, I think you'll win that way. If you frustrate them, because Sheffield Wednesday aren't in form themselves. They've lost 3-1 to Middlesbrough today. Who else have you got towards the end of the season? Swansea. Their home form recently has been very poor.
We've already beat them as well.
Exactly. You've already beaten them once this season. You beat them away last season from a Tom Lawrence stunner. You're okay at the Liberty. So I do feel like if you go into that game, play a similar style to the way we were playing today, but not quite the same, for me, from judging that performance, your second half needs to be better. And I said to you at half time, I felt like you'd settle on the game. I don't think that was the right thing to do.
Okay.
And it depends what team you face. If you face a Rotherham, I think maybe settling on it is not a bad idea, or a Sheffield Wednesday. However, if you're playing a team, like Swansea, they're still gunning for the playoffs. You need to be better. And I do think in that second half, Sir Alex Ferguson put it best. If you have the ball, if you're attacking with the ball, the other team won't score. That's the best way to defend a league. It's as simple as that. So, you defend a lead that way.
Defend from the front.
Exactly. Defend from the front. It's bang on. So I do feel like if you try and adapt that style a bit more in a short space of time, you can go into the Swansea game and you can take something from them, because Swansea aren't in great form themselves. We beat them. I honestly didn't rate them when we beat them. I didn't think they were that good. We kept a clean sheet against them as well. And that was at home. We've got the second worst home form in the league. So I do think you can take advantage of Swansea. I'd fancy you more, despite the table positions, I'd fancy you more in that Swansea game than I fancy you in the Sheffield Wednesday game.
So would I. I'm not going to lie, so would I.
Exactly.
We've been better against the teams. I think our record against the teams in the top half is actually better than the bottom half, to be fair.
Exactly, and that doesn't surprise me.
But a lot of those games have come from having Bielik fit and, so on, and having a more fit squad. So yeah, we're just going to have to see what happens, aren't we?
I do fancy you against Swansea, but Sheffield Wednesday, I've just got a bit of a draw vibe to that, because Sheffield Wednesday, it depends on their next game. If they lose their next game, you're fine.
I feel like that'd be enough.
A draw would be enough,
A draw and a win from those two games would obviously be enough, 4 points. But a draw and a draw, or a draw and a loss, or even 2 losses, obviously it's going to be very worrying, put it that way.
Yeah, exactly. The only game, looking at Rotherham's remaining fixtures, the only game I can see him definitely winning is Luton Town away. For me, because Luton Town have nothing to play for, bang average mid-table. On their day, they're a decent squad, but on their off days, they're horrific. They are horrific.
We have beaten them this year as well.
Exactly. So, I do fancy Rotherham to pick up 3 points there. So you've just got to look at these last 2 fixtures and think, which one of these 2 are we going to win? Because I think if you win one of these remaining 2, you will stay up. And I think Swansea is actually, despite the table positions, probably the better chance of doing that.
I hope so.
Yeah, no. So it is. I wouldn't mind either Derby staying up, because it's Pride Park's a great away day.
Yeah.
It is a good away day.
We do love this fixture, don't we?
Yeah, this fixture is always intense. It's hard to watch. But for once, we've actually fucking won it. So that's great. So proper happy about that. Apologies for the language if anyone was offended, but it's a great result for Blues, and we can take this into our last couple of games. I don't expect us to win our last couple of games, not going to lie, because we're safe. But, Cardiff, they're still looking to get playoffs. They'll still be trying. I don't expect us to win that.
They've won today as well.
Exactly. They're in good form. Obviously, we won today, but we have nothing to play for. Blackburn, I do fancy us to win that, actually, you know, or at least get a draw, because Blackburn, like us, have nothing to play for. So I do think it's just a question of who turns up on the day. And it has a feel of a high-scoring draw to it, to be honest.
Yeah, I think Blackburn carry a bigger goal threat than the majority of other teams in the bottom half, at least.
Exactly, especially
if you look at the amount of goals that they've scored.
Yeah, Adam Armstrong in particular
scored a hat-trick today. I feel like though, if you end the season well, you can sort of carry that momentum into next year, and that'd boost your position next year as well. So I don't think you'd be like, I'm not asked about what score be. I don't think that would be Bowyer's kind of attitude.
No,
I think definitely going into those games with 2 wins would definitely help you with the momentum going into next year.
Precisely, and I hope it's that way. But however, I don't want to rely on that too much. I'm excited for next season. But you look at Derby. I think you went 12 games with probably a couple of losses, but you're in great form and you look ready for next season. And then obviously you look at where you are now. It's just not worked out. Before we wrap up things and, we close things off, my one question to you is, obviously I've asked you the big question, do you think you'll stay up? And you've said sort of just over the line, kind yes. Of, yeah. Do you think Cocu would have done a better job than Rooney?
It's hard to say. I feel like I kind of mentioned this to you after the game, that towards the end of Cocu's sort of tenure in charge, he kind of realised that we were unable to play the football that we were at least last year, and towards there was that great run of form towards the end of last season, and we were clearly unable to do that. So what Cocu did is an experienced player as the other manager, obviously having success in Turkey and with Fenerbahce. He kind of just made us hard to beat at the time. Like there was a lot. I think what fans saw, there was a lot of draws. And because they weren't wins, a lot of fans were actually getting a bit pissed off, to be frank. But you think about that position now, being hard to beat and playing and getting draws out of these games instead of losses. That actually probably we'd bite your hand off for that now, if you know what I mean. So I feel like Cocu, with his experience, kind of he realised that. So at the time he obviously tried to make us a bit harder to beat, but. Obviously, because we weren't winning games, obviously, we all know Mel Morris's history of being trigger happy with managers. So he's obviously gone. But I feel like potentially we might have been in a better position. But obviously, we were bottom at the time when Philip was sacked. So it's a hard kind of position to be in, especially if you are Mel Morris. So maybe, but at the end of the day, we are where we are, and it's just down to us now.
Precisely, mate. I think you're bang on there, and. I do think Cocu would have been better on a defensive point, but maybe Rooney has grabbed a few more wins in that perspective. But I do think maybe, you can never know, but Cocu would have been more experienced in these situations and would have offered a bit more than Rooney has. I feel like Rooney is very one route, and that showed today.
No, I agree. Completely agree. Philip, to be fair to him, I think back to one of the games that kind of stood out was the Nottingham Forest game. We drew 1-1 at their place. Both teams obviously weren't in the best of form at the time, but Forest were kind of had the better of the game. At this current stage, it is as much as it pains me to say they are obviously slightly better than us, but in that game we used the players that we had and we caused them problems and definitely should have won because we got denied a clear. Obvious goal for pretty much.
Oh yeah, I remember Jos Riak.
Yeah, and it was given offside, but he wasn't actually interfering with the keeper. So it's another. Well, if VAR was there, it would have been given. But yeah, there's advantages and disadvantages to both managers, I feel. But at the end of the day, it just is what it is. So it's just kind of we've just got to go along with it now.
100%, mate. I think you're bang on there, and I feel like that wraps up the episode quite nicely. So thank you for everyone to joining us for this final whistle reaction episode. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I do think it's been a good analysis of the game overall on both sides. So no, I do hope you've enjoyed it. Let us know how you feel in the comments. Obviously, another big Blues win, and that's us safe now, which is great. If you're not subscribed, subscribe already. Feeling kind, check out that Patreon link, please. I beg. But no, if if you want to chat about the game a bit more, feel free to hit us up on Twitter. I'll leave Brandon's link down below. Talk to us in the comments, and thank you for joining us as always. And thank you for joining us as well, Brandon. It's been a pleasure.
Pleasure, mate. Yeah.
Cool. Thank you very much, and keep right on. We'll see you in the next one, and on to Cardiff, which I'm not feeling too confident about, but we'll see.